What's up?
Yo, what's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 30 of the MMAHOLIcs. Thank y'all so much for joining us. Today, we were going to do our UFC Paris breakdown. Yeah, man, they've been going to Paris like every year at this point. So it really is cool to really see like the country, like of France, like the actual city really get like its own annual event like that. I do think eventually they will do like a pay-per-view once they get like a French champion or something like that, who could possibly be in the main event of this card. But we'll see how it goes though. But how you feeling though, Nikki? You good?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah. So it's our first fight night in a little while. So yeah, you're right. I'm pretty sure last year I was looking at. I think it's every September. I think it was September 2nd last year. It was the
Mhm.
Gon versus Spivak fight.
Yep.
Um, I feel like I watched it, but I don't think we did a. I don't think we did a pre. I was looking. Because I was looking through my notes to see if I had any notes from that card, just to see
Mhm.
what like some of the same fighters, because obviously it's some of the same people, and I don't
Right.
think we did that card, but I do remember that fight. I remember I was like, they gave Gon the wrong Sergey. I want him to fight Pavlovich at the time because that would have been a way better fight. But
Hmm.
yeah, so it's a yearly thing now in September that they're going to be going to Paris every year.
Right. Yeah, and like that's the crazy part. It's like even before that, like with the Gone into not Gone into Ivasa, the Gone and Spivak, it was Gone into Ivasa. I think that was the first UFC Paris thing I did. That was a pretty crazy atmosphere because they were singing like the French national anthem like during the fight and stuff like that. And yeah, man, like again, like that. I think even the first card had William Gomi on it, how he's on
Hmm.
this card as well. So it was really cool to see like it really like, all the French prospects really like just unite, I guess you could say, on that fight card. Kind of like how we just saw on like, the Mexican Independence Day with all the Mexican stuff like that. It's just really cool to see the UFC's roster really be that deep now to the point where they can really have fighters exclusively from a certain region and have a whole card dedicated to that. We got 14 fights on this card, so it feels good to really have some fights on the bill. But how you feel about the bout order and stuff like that?
It's interesting. I think there's some weaker fights that I'm not really interested in. I would definitely say there's good fights on here.
Hmm.
It would be cool to see Gon, but I'm glad he's not because obviously the fight would have been canceled. Because I mean, literally just last week, or was it this week earlier? Um, Volkov pulled out, so
Pulled out.
obviously it wouldn't happen on this card. He would have been fresh off an injury. So I'm
Right.
kind of glad they didn't book it. It would have felt like the card's value went down. But it's interesting. A lot of these fighters fighting at the same exact gym too, which is interesting. I guess there's not too many fighting gyms over there in France,
Hmm.
maybe. But yeah, I saw a lot of them are from the same gym. But it's cool. The bout order is interesting. You got some people I like. Nasruddin Mavov, he's becoming a very popular Frenchman. Jusset, he's pretty good.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's some good names on here.
Right.
Ludovic, I don't know how to pronounce the name, but he's pretty
Ludovic
good. He's
Klein.
definitely pretty good. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I will say one thing about that matchup. I wish he got a bigger fight. I thought he was
Mhm.
gonna get like a ranked opponent coming into this card. Unfortunately, he was supposed to fight Nicholas Mata even before
Yeah. Wasn't
Roosevelt.
that scheduled for this? And he that was scheduled, and Mata withdrew right here. Yeah, canceled.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't say injury, nothing. Just says he withdrew. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting they're giving him Roosevelt after he beat Ignacio, who's like a same build but better. It's
Yeah.
interesting. They gave him like the same exact frame, but just not as good of a fighter. So it's interesting.
Right. Of course. Yeah. And like again, like I just the last thing I will say, is that I just so that is one of the things I want the most out of this card is Ludovic Klein to get a ranked opponent if he does get the victory. Only because I feel like he can be a real player in like the lightweight division now, especially with the 145 weight cut not hurting him anymore. I remember when he finished Shane Young, he actually missed weight coming into that fight. So it's cool to see him actually find a new home at lightweight and really unlock his innate potential. But we could go ahead and pull up the topology. Again, we got 14 fights on this card, so it's pretty interesting to really see like who's gonna do what. Especially with like the underdogs and like the favorites, and like there's a lot of close fights on this card betting odd wise. So I am pretty interested to see. But yeah, we can go ahead and get it cracking. Also, y'all, I did want to mention, so like I've said before on here, I live in Atlanta, Georgia. There's a tropical storm going on right now in Florida. And like if I look outside my window, we are getting some of it. So if y'all like see like me kind of fuzz up here and there, it's definitely because the storm that's going over my apartment right now. But again, I want to thank y'all so much for joining us. Anyone that pops to the chat, y'all already know. Say whatever you want. You feel me? We're always respectful around here, always having chill conversations. And even as I say that, I gotta say what's up to the boy True. Thank you so much, True. Thank you for sliding. Always love talking to you. First guest of the day. Also got Better MMA in here too. Thank you so much, Better. I appreciate you. Yeah, man, I'm not really gonna go outside like that. Not in that rain, bro. Like I can't even tell you. Like it said like on the weather app, it's supposed to rain like all day, like even through the night. So I'm probably not gonna go anywhere like that. But again, I appreciate you boys for popping up. As we get this card cranking again, like it's a pretty good card as I look at it on paper. I'll probably give a number rating when we're done and stuff like that. But we could go ahead and crack open the first fight. Bolaji Oki versus Chris Duncan. Now, I really like Chris Duncan. You know, he's a pretty funny guy. His fight against Charlie Campbell was absolutely insane. Like, you know, he almost got knocked out in the fight multiple times, but he ended up landing like a counter right flush to Charlie Campbell's chin, and like it was over. And even in that fight, it was really cool how he can like show his heart and determination to weather the damage and really come back. I think he had fought on Contender Series before and he lost prior to that. So it was cool to really see him come back and get a contract. Of course, with the skill set, Chris Duncan, you know, he's a decent striker. Like I mentioned, he's like, you know, definitely has knockout power. Fairly good chin. We know he got submitted by Manuel Torres last time out. So he's definitely still working on his ground game, you could say. And we just saw Manuel Torres, of course, get knocked out in the first round by Ignacio Bahamondes. But I still think Torres is a decent striker. And yeah, man, again, Chris Duncan, you know, he's 11-2, coming in as a plus 180 underdog this time around. But I think he's all right, though, for sure. Like the problem, Chris Duncan. And he's fighting Bolaji Oki in this fight, who I'm really, really high on. The Zulu Warrior. I do think this dude's really good. I'm not going to lie. He's only 28 years old, so he is the younger fighter going into this matchup. He's on a 9-fight win streak, so he definitely has way more momentum than Chris Duncan does at the moment, you could say. You know, beating Timothy Kawamba in his last fight and finishing Dylan Salvador on Contender Series in the first round. Like he's just looked really impressive ever since he came onto the UFC stage, and I really think he is a good fighter. And like, yeah, even then when he was fighting in Atomic, he was the champion over there. So he can go 5 rounds, we know, or at least train for 5 rounds, you know, stuff like that. And like, yeah, and even like he is coming in with a killer instinct. He defended his belt in Atomic by finish. And then, like I said, he got the first round knockout on Contender Series. I think the Timothy Kawamba fight, he could have had some UFC jitters, you know, being his debut and things of that nature. But of course, his skill set, just like the boy Anakin in the chat's talking about. Want to give a shout out to the boy Anakin also for joining us as well. He is on Oki going into this fight. And yeah, like it's pretty funny. Great minds think alike. I was gonna go with Balaji Oki too. I just think the really like the technical difference in this fight is gonna be the game changer. I really think he's just really fast, has really good body kicks, good leg kicks, decent power too. You feel me? But I do think that Chris Duncan's durability, like I mentioned, especially in the Charlie Campbell fight, will hold up. So I think Oki's just gonna land the better shots, the more technical shots. And just really take a decision in this fight. But of course, anything can happen for any of y'all trying to take that plus 180 money for you bettors out there. You feel me? And how you feeling, Nikki? Go ahead.
So for this fight, Chris Duncan, he's a brawler, like that's first and foremost, and you always got to pick and choose when you're gonna pick a brawler to win a fight because they fight very chaotic. They're just like they go in there, they try and knock you out, but they get hurt so much. And some of these dudes just when they take damage every fight, it's like it's never a safe picking them. For Balaji, He's quick, like you said. He has good footwork, and he can finish the fight on the feet. If he fights this fight smartly, which I think he would, I think going into this, there's a little bit of discipline going into this with an opponent like Chris Duncan. I think he could finish this. Safe pick would be decision, but I think he could definitely knock him out on the feet. Just because the amount of damage that Chris takes. So yeah, I'm between a knockout or a decision for Balaji Oki.
Yeah, man. Guess the first fight we got an agreement. We'll see how the card goes as we keep going. And then yeah, I am happy to see Balaji back. I am really high on this dude. Anakin giving his points as to why he's picking Balaji Oki as well. Duncan getting sub by Torres, who's known for KO power, is not good, which I could definitely see why you would say that. Again, after seeing Manuel Torres, of course, getting finished by Ignacio Bahamondes, but we know how good, Bahamondes is, So I still think Torres can bounce back, but I do feel like Anakin would say that most definitely. And yeah, this too, on a side note, that crowd is going to be pretty crazy. I do hope that Oki doesn't get too lost in the excitement and just maintains the distance in the game plan. As we know, Chris Duncan is definitely going to brawl with that crowd going insane. It's the first fight of the night, and the UFC knew what they did by booking this fight for the first fight. So we're going to see how it goes. But yeah, we both got Oki on this one. And yeah, we got ladies.
I keep telling you, though, every first fight, it's getting better and better. They started out a good fight, and then they calm it down a little bit, and then they pick it back up. But every first fight's a banger.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're right about that. I mean, it's just
every time. It's every time now. I don't remember the last card with a bad. It started with probably 300, right?
300. I was gonna say, yeah. You can say
probably started with the Figgy Coat Garbrandt fight, and ever since then, it's just been good fights to start off the night.
Right, and I really think they want to just establish that standard, especially for those watching on the early prelims, when that might be the only fight they can watch that night. So they want to get them to try to buy that pay-per-view just off the first fight, So I could definitely see why they would do that strategically. But yeah, man, moving on to the next one, we got the ladies, Nora Cannoli versus Jacqueline Cavalcanti. Now, this is a rematch, a sequel, as I like to say, in the realm of mixed martial arts. In the first fight, Jacqueline won the first fight, so I guess we could start off with her, seeing how she was the victor in the previous matchup. Yeah, man, she's 27 years old on a 5-fight win streak. She has the reach advantage coming into this fight. On a decent win streak herself, she's won 5 in a row. All decent, promotions, but not the best competition. She beat a 6-8 girl, beat a 1-0, in a 4-1, and on the UFC roster, she beat Zara Fern, who of course, Zara Fern's not really the best level of competition. And then she beat Josiane Nunes, and that was by split decision. And that was not too long ago. That was on August 24th, so she's trying to get paid, trying to stay active, you feel me? And yeah, again, her only loss in her career is by split decision. And the fight before that, she did beat Nora Cannoli. It took place on July 10th, 2021, so it's not too long ago. They're fighting 3 years later. But it's cool to see how far the ladies have came. They're both inside the UFC now. So it's a whole, it's and this is on the prelims, it's a whole big storyline on the early prelims, But yeah, Jacqueline's coming in the favorite. She's a -195 favorite. And yeah, in terms of Nora's career at the latest, of course, she's 2-0 inside the UFC now. She missed weight when she fought Melissa Mullins. The weigh-ins haven't happened yet. I think pretty sure that they're tomorrow. Hopefully, she has that under control going into this one. You feel me? And she beat Jocelyn Edwards in the fight before that. I know some people thought Edwards won that fight, so I know it says unanimous, but I do remember seeing, of course, it could have been bitter bettors and stuff like that on Twitter, mad off a bet. But I did see people, when that fight happened, they thought that Jocelyn Edwards could have took that herself. But of course, even before that, she beat Hasna Gabbard by leg injury, and she knocked out Santa Monder. And before that, she knocked out Priscilla De Souza and Osmana Botch and choked out Juliet Chukwu. So she definitely has a killer instinct, most definitely. You could definitely say that. And when she lost to Jacqueline Cavalcanti, that was a decision. So who knows? Like maybe if there's a different set of judges, like that could have gone a different way. This is a close one, man. I'm not gonna lie. I know Cavalcanti's coming in as the favorite. She's the younger fighter, definitely the fastest you could say, and she has the reach advantage. It's really about if she knows how to utilize that reach advantage. And also Anakin again making good points this fight as well, saying how Nora had that insane KO. Like I just said, she definitely does have that killer instinct. You definitely could say that. And this is a close one, you feel me? And a plus 160, I can see why people would want to take her, you feel me? Even as I sit here myself, I mean, I don't know. Like, how are you feeling on this matchup?
So, one, I didn't know this was a rematch, so that's kind of locking in. I'm definitely taking Nora in this fight, plus money.
Because I was winning her too off the underdog, yeah, man.
And she's a finisher, so like that's like right there what keeps me interested. But now I'm hearing that it's a rematch and she's a finisher, so I think I'm locked in with Nora in this fight. Yeah, like you said, depends how she uses her reach. It can go to her advantage. Most women's fights go to decisions, but I mean, how many of these fights has she finished? It was 7, right?
She finished like she's killing these girls. She finished like 7 in a row.
She has 1 decision.
Like yeah,
lost a decision, won a decision, and the rest have been. I mean, yeah, if she's not gonna win a decision, she's gonna do a lot of damage. I'll tell you that. It's pretty split over here on Tapology too.
It's a close one, man.
How do you see these fights going to the scorecard? That's interesting. You still there? I saw you blink. I thought you froze for a second.
No, you're good.
Yeah, it's interesting how it does go to the scorecards. I mean, I don't really remember last year in France if there was any decisions that were leaning that way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure at the Noche card, was there anything controversial? I can't.
Nah,
I don't remember if there's anything controversial, honestly.
It was really a bunch of crazy fight. I know a bunch of Mexicans lost, right? Really? Yeah. So
but 305 was there's always going to be like a pay-per-view in a different country or whatever, or a fight night in a different country. And I mean, yeah, you do see it when they Tai Tuivasa winning rounds was fucking insane, no?
Right.
So it happens. It's usually going to happen more with the bigger fighters. So maybe with like a Gomes or someone, maybe they'll be able to steal some rounds from the judges.
Yeah.
I feel like with these earlier on fights, the judges are pretty fair. Now, I remember at the last Abu Dhabi card, the first fight of the night, it was or was it 2 years ago, Abu Dhabi? It was a Brazilian versus a Russian. And it was funny because the Charles and Islam. And it was just, that was the first fight of the night. I remember I couldn't believe the decision that I'm forgetting exactly how it went, but yeah, like you get the point. Like sometimes they just give it to these fighters, just because they're from the home crowd. They don't want to hear boos early on.
Of course,
I don't know. Hopefully, we don't have to deal with that because it does suck when it's very blatant. You know what I mean? No one likes it when it's blatant. If it's like a close fight and you lean one way, sure. But when it's blatant, like how the hell do you give this person 2 rounds or 3 rounds? No one likes that. I hate when it's like 28-27, 28-27, and third, like, bro, why are we saying 30? Like, come on. No one agrees with that. So that's my only thing.
Yeah, I mean, again, like as I was saying, even before I asked you, like as I look at the underdog number, like it's just more so like, man, like, and again, man, she beat Melissa Mullins in the last fight, who was undefeated. You feel me? And like you could definitely make the case she's beaten better competition than Cavalcanti. Again, like she beat Zara Fern, who's 6-5, and she had a split with Josiani. You feel me? So Coronoli definitely has looked better in the more recent outing. So I'm gonna go with the finishing power, bro. I'm gonna go with the killer instinct and Nora Coronoli. Plus, she's the one who is French. If this does go to a decision, I think they're gonna try to give it to her. You feel me? I think she'll land the bigger shots. She has the reach disadvantage, so she has no choice but to close the distance. So I think she will come forward, especially knowing she lost to her. Hell yeah, she's gonna come forward, try to take her head off, this and that. I don't think she's gonna be really have a. I mean, she could come out technical and crisp and stuff like that. I just think she's going to be really aggressive trying to get that win back. And at least we know off her losing to her, she's going to come with like a really cerebral approach. They're going to do a lot of game planning for this fight, most definitely. She doesn't have to travel at all versus Josiane, who's coming from Portugal. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Cornoli in this fight. It's a close one, most definitely. We're gonna see how it goes. How you feeling though?
I agreed with you. I got Nora taking this one.
Oh yeah,
knockout.
Most definitely. Shout out to Anakin as well. That's another triple sweep. Anakin, you can't make
every time Anakin comes in here, you got a new profile picture. I can't tell who that is. That's not.
I think it's Ribovics.
Oh, that's Ribovic. Okay, I couldn't tell. It's hard to see. The profile picture's a little small on my other monitor. Every time Anakin always got a new profile picture. And Anakin, you had a Fighting Nerds last time you came in here, right? Didn't you have like
I think it was Kyle, maybe.
Yeah, Kyle. Yeah. That's definitely who we had last time.
Mm-hmm.
The great background, but I remember.
No, I like you, man. Keep switching it up. It's fire, new fighters and stuff for sure. Want to give a shout out to Lane as well. Thank you so much for joining us, Lane. Always love talking to you. And stay with your opinions for sure. Like, really great member of the chat. Always got something to add that's really credible and always factual. So always love talking to Lane for sure. And moving on to the next one. Yeah, y'all. Again, it's a pretty good card. Even as we continue to go up. And yeah, Daniel Barras versus Victor Altamirano. I guess I can be kind of quick with this one. Obviously, we know more about Victor Altamirano going into this fight. He's the one that's been inside the UFC longer. Definitely can say he's faced a better competition going into this fight. He's lost 2 in a row, but it was to Felipe Dos Santos and Tim Elliott, who's an absolute veteran. Daniel Barras got submitted by Jafiel Filho in his last fight, and I do think that Jafiel Filho is a pretty good fighter. Before that, Daniel Barras was on a pretty killer streak himself. Now, of course, you can say whatever you want about the competition, but Daniel Barras, again, 14-12 guy knocked him out, a 6-9 guy knocked him out, 7-9 knocked him out, 10-9. I mean, I get it. It is not the best competition at all. And when he got that step up by fighting Carlos Hernandez on Contender Series, he lost. You feel me? So I do think that kind of shows his level in the grand.
Also, Manel Kopp back in 2014. Is that a verbal stoppage?
Verbal. Yo, yeah.
Yell tap. I
was going to say, it was probably like a submission or something, and he screamed. Or Kopp was
like a WWE I Quit match. Mike to his face, are you done?
Yeah. Easy. I mean, yeah, that was 2014, man. Manel Kopp was only 21 years old. I was a freshman in high school back in 2014.
Kopp has fought a lot of people in the UFC outside of the UFC.
UFC,
really interesting.
I agree, and hopefully, he can just Kopp himself just get back in there, man.
He got a fight booked today. It was against. Pull it up, maybe. Just got. It's not on here.
Did he really?
I know, but he literally just got booked today for something.
That's good, man. Because he's still young enough to be champion, to go on a run, to really Pantoja didn't win the belt till 33, till he was 33 years old and stuff. So I do think he could still go on a run if he can just stay focused, But yeah, with Daniel Barras and Victor Altamirano, again, Barras hasn't beaten the best competition at all. And I do think Altamirano has, for sure, fought the better competition. Even going into his career before those 2 losses, he beat Vinicius Salvador by decision. And if you remember, Vinicius Salvador came off Contender Series with a beautiful KO win. So I do think that Altamirano really just fought two good dudes. And even when he lost to Felipe dos Santos, it was a split decision. So at least we know that when it comes to UFC competition, he is more competitive indeed, versus Barres, who's getting submitted in the first round as soon as he touches the octagon, you know? So yeah, man, and it's really funny. Both these guys have lost Carlos Hernandez. Both these guys are victims of Carlos Hernandez. But again, I mean, Hernandez is a pretty good fighter, and that was 2 years ago. And again, he got on a 2-fight winning streak after that. So with my pick in this fight, I mean, man, like it's it's a pick'em fight on here, obviously. You feel me? I was gonna go with Victor Altamirano. I just think he's faced a better competition. And at least, like I said, he's been more competitive in the UFC, like on the UFC level. He's the younger fighter, and he has the reach advantage, and he's taller, so he's the overall bigger fighter. He'll be able to stuff the takedowns. If he gets taken down, scramble back to his feet. And yeah, I mean, again, like it's a kind of a pick your poison type of fight. And I mean, yeah, like most of Victor's wins are by decision, so at least we know he has a good gas tank, can maintain distance all 3 rounds. And he has some wins by knockout, but I do think he's gonna win by decision. This is a pretty random fight on this card. I'm not gonna lie, with one guy from Mexico and the other from Spain. So take that with what you will, especially like what kind of fight it is and stuff like that. And you got to make a pick. So I was gonna go with Victor, but yeah, how you feeling?
So first off, I'm like a really big Felipe dos Santos fan. I've been saying it since I've seen his first fight in the UFC. And I won't be the one to admit it, but a lot of people are saying they thought Victor won against Felipe dos Santos in that decision. Like I said, I'm not going to agree with you because when I was watching that fight, I was definitely rooting for Felipe. So I'm not, unless I rewatch the fight, I'm not really going to see it that way. But if a lot of people are agreeing with it, it's like that's how they feel. He's very tough. He has a good chin. He should be able to just, grit out 3 rounds against Barres. I don't see Barres knocking him out, so I don't see him winning this fight. We don't really have too much information on him. So just to keep it simple, I'm going to go, with everyone else. I'm going to take Altamirano by decision in this one.
And yeah, like that's really all you can say, man. I mean, it is what it is. Like I said, it's a pretty random fight to be in this region of the world. But hey, like I was saying before before the breakdown started, that just shows how diverse the roster is now, with how deep the countries go, with how diverse it is, But moving on to the ladies, I'm a big fan of one of these girls. I'm not gonna say who. But yeah, man. Great fight in this one. You feel me? I thought that video that came out recently with Marab and Aylin Perez was pretty crazy.
I didn't even know that was her at first.
Really?
I saw a comment. Yeah, I didn't even notice it was her. I mean, bro, she's like fucking bent over. I didn't even realize it was her.
Right.
I was like, oh, Marab's with one of the ring girls or something, and then I saw it was her.
Right. Nah, for sure. And yeah, man, like she's definitely a very interesting character. If you go check out her social medias and things of that nature. But of course, we're talking about her in the cage antics right now. She's looked pretty good, man. Honestly, when she is inside of the cage, she's a good wrestler. Really good at getting the fight to the ground. At least I think so. She did drop Jocelyn Edwards with a spinning back fist, I believe it was at one point. And that damn near won her the fight. So she is a pretty well-rounded, pretty well-rounded martial artist. Really good to know that she's working on all facets of the game. And yeah, man, of course, like, everyone knows her for her assets and stuff like that. But like I said, she's a really good wrestler, good grappler. She can damn near chain the wrestling when she's still pursuing takedowns. Really made for her style, has a really good gas tank. all 3 fights she's won was by unanimous decision. Of course, it's not the best competition with Ashley Evans Smith, Lucy Pudilova, and Jocelyn Edwards. And before that, she got choked out by Stephanie Edgar. But she did take that fight on short notice, super duper short notice, just to get the contract. And when she got the training camps, what happened? She looked really good. Again, like, she does have some knockouts in her career. And even then, like, at one point, she was a champion on the regional scene when she was fighting for Samurai Fight House. She did win their vacant bantamweight championship. So, at least we know she has championship experience. She probably had to train 5 rounds for that. So it's good to know that, her gas tank is reliable, you could say. And yeah, like I said, decent striker, but definitely a better grappler, really, really strong wrestler. For what her style is, you could say she's a strong wrestler. I think she has surprisingly good wrestling. And again, going into her opponent, don't really know much about her. Obviously, it's her debut. You feel me? But hey, you feel me? Anyone can win a fight. Her name is Daria. I don't want to mess up her last name, so I'm just gonna say her like Daria. She's 9-1, 28 years old. She's coming in 5'9" on a 2-fight win streak, so she is a taller fighter. And again, she lost to Melissa Mullins, a girl that Nora Cannoli had finished. She got ground and pounded by her, but after that, she beat Maria Lazou by knockout in the first round and beat Montserrat Rendon in her UFC debut. And yeah, Montserrat Rendon was undefeated herself, so she did take her O. And again, like, she's a pretty decent fighter. She has 5 wins via KO. Only been knocked out 1 time, as I said, and her other wins are via decision. So she's never won via submission. So it's definitely a striker. I think knowing that, I think this fight does kind of favor Aylin Perez in getting the fight to the ground and really working her game plan. She's faced a better competition in her career, in my opinion. Obviously, she's coming in a -270 favorite, so a lot of people feel like she's going to win this fight as well. Of course, betting odds mean nothing at the end of the day. We just saw a heavyweight on Contender Series last night win after being a plus 550 underdog, so somebody made a lot of money last night for sure. But talking about this fight though, I was gonna go with Aylin Perez in this matchup. I think she can get the fight to the ground, not at will. I do think she will struggle with the taller fighter of Daria, but I do think she'll be able just to keep chaining the wrestling and just work her game plan, get her to the ground, and really just get that control time. Maybe get a little bit of ground and pound here and there. That's the Daria's only loss is via ground and pound. So I do think that, like, if she does have a hole, it probably is her wrestling. So I do think Aylin Perez can get the fight to the ground and at least control her. Maybe a finish might be a stretch, but I was going to go with Aylin Perez via decision in this matchup.
I agree with you on this one. I think Perez's striking has improved a lot since the Jocelyn Edwards fight. Like, going into that fight, her striking has improved a lot, is what I'm saying. And like you said, she could chain the wrestling together. That's what I think is going to happen. I think she's going to keep getting the takedowns. And unless Daria could stuff the takedowns, it's just going to be Aylin having her way in this fight for 3 rounds. I think the UFC is trying to build her up. They definitely have something with her in this division.
Mm-hmm.
She could be a big name for sure. Maybe in a year from now. It could be like top 7 probably.
Mm-hmm.
She might be able to get put in the ranking just from this fight, just sneak into the top 15 just from winning.
Yeah, 4 or 5 win streak. You feel me? Like, she's looking good.
She's at 16 right now. They could just push her right in there. No one would say nothing about it. She's definitely a fan favorite. Like, most dudes, if you told them to name 3 to 5 female fighters, a good amount will say her. Wonder why. But yeah, I have her winning this one by decision. Like I said, unless Daria could stuff takedowns very well, that's the only way she even has a chance at competing in this fight, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that just on the surface level.
Right, absolutely. But yeah, hey y'all, anything happen in a fight, of course. But yeah, as we move on up the card, this is where all the matchups from here on out are pretty crazy. I'm not gonna lie. And yeah, man, it's Taylor Lapilus versus Vince Morales. Before I even give my pick in this fight, I do want to give a shout out to Vince Morales. This guy was in the UFC before, and he got cut, and he went on like a 4-fight win streak and came back. So I just really want to give, like, it was like a 5-fight win streak. Yeah. I really want to give my respect to him for coming back like that. A lot of people have retired once they have been cut from the UFC, and you can imagine, like, the moment you're not in that spectacle anymore, when you go to a regional event, it's like, in like a basketball gym somewhere or whatever, like in like a cage, not the octagon no more. That can make people want to give up. But he has a dream of being a mixed martial artist, and he stayed mentally strong, and he was rewarded with another chance in this fight. It's just, unfortunately, he's gonna have to fight someone who's really good, man. In Taylor Lapilus. Obviously, this guy's a really good, really good grappler. He has good striking as well, but he's really known for his wrestling. Double Impact's really good at getting the fight to the ground, most definitely. You can look at his frame for the division. He's really strong, compact flyweight. And I do think, in bantamweight, and I do think that he will be able to get the fight to the ground here. We saw him beat Cody Stamann, another good wrestler. So I definitely think that Taylor will be able to get this fight to the ground. I think Vince might be taking this on short notice somewhat, or he might have had a full camp. I'm not sure. I just think with Lapilus, he's really well-rounded in terms of his career. He has 4 wins via knockout, 6 wins via submission, and 10 wins via decision. So he can either knock you out, submit you, or go 3 rounds. And yeah, and it's really funny. Nate gave a really good point here just now to summarize the whole situation. Yeah, man, like, seriously. For those that don't know, Taylor Lapilus was here before. I think it was around like 2016, 17. He went 3-1 in the UFC, but they cut him, unfortunately, because just really his wrestling heavy style and things of that nature. They just really they thought he wasn't that entertaining. Even with his record and stuff like that, they just thought he wasn't a fun fighter. Like, he did knock out Olka Sasaki, which was a really big win back then. I just think that they weren't really too high on Taylor Lapilus, and I feel like they'd pay him a lot of money, low key, for like an unranked fighter and stuff like that, for him to have a lot of hype and stuff. I do think they pay him a pretty decent amount, not too much, but for what he brings to like the division, I do think they feel like they might be overcompensating him or something. But like I said, in terms of his skill set, he's really well-rounded, good striker, great grappler, and good gas tank as well. And Nate's giving some really good points here for those who are leaning Vince Morales going into this fight. We did see Kalen Logren. We did see him get a win after that fight. So I do think Kalen Logren is a pretty good prospect. And he was looking good, man. He was getting some grappling positions on Taylor Lapilus. They really forced Taylor Lapilus to have to scramble back to his feet. And really just rely on the energy of the Paris crowd to try to get the victory. And he ended up winning the fight. He beat Kalen Logren. I think, it was by unanimous decision, but it was a pretty eventful fight, you could say. It wasn't like he just dominated Kalen Logren straight out. And yeah, man, if anyone, for Vince Morales, I know I broke down his career, but yeah, he's a good striker himself. Most of his wins are by knockout. He has 7 wins by knockouts, 5 wins via submissions, and 4 wins via decision. It's just, with me, I think Taylor Lapilus is the more polished fighter, the faster fighter, the stronger fighter, and I do think he'll be able to, he's not going to play around. He's not going to play around. He's not going to try to, give a war for the fans and stuff like that. And, I do think he's going to try to get the fight to the ground off rip. Not like he's scared to strike with him or anything. I just think he's going to really want to try to secure the victory at home. And he's fighting in Paris. Like, he can, wrestle for 15 minutes, and I think they'll cheer the whole time, So, I do think Taylor Lapilus will win this fight via decision, but anything can happen. Vince Morales is on a pretty good win streak right now, so he has a lot of momentum, and you feel like you can beat anyone when you've beaten 5 grown men in a row. So we're gonna see how it goes. But how you feeling?
Yeah, Vince, he's definitely a better grappler than he is a striker, in my opinion. And then you're gonna go against someone like Taylor Lapilus, who is very solid. I think Taylor is gonna beat on a lot of these lower level, just fighters in the UFC. I mean, his competition has been good. I mean, he lost to Basharat. Basharat's obviously really good. Colin, you know what you want. He definitely was a prospect that was interesting to say the least. I know people lost a little bit of hype of him. When I first heard of him, he seemed like people had some hype, and then after that, pretty sure he lost the fight. Like after I previewed it, and he lost a lot of that hype. But Taylor's definitely getting the good fights, and this one's he's facing a veteran, you could say, but not that good. It feels like a step down from what he was fighting. Um, I just think he should be able to win this one. Might be loose. I say it's probably gonna ride out to a decision, in
Yep,
my opinion.
not play no
Uh,
games.
I don't think they're gonna be too much wrestling. I think their wrestling and their grappling is gonna, negate each other. Probably stand on the feet, and Lapilou's just gonna win the exchanges, in my opinion. Way better striker, has a little bit of a reach advantage, and I mean, line's a little spread, but I respect it. I can't be mad at it. There's definitely a worse line on this card. I think we're coming up on it soon. But yeah, that's my. I think I got Lapilus winning by a decision.
Mm-hmm. Nah, I feel you for sure. Want to give a shout out to Craig Crowley for joining as well. Thank you so much for joining, Craig. Always see you in James Lynch's chats. That's awesome. A friend of the channel. And I'll see you at the MMA OB Daily podcast. Shout out to Adam Martin and Big Marcel as well. Really good friends of ours for sure. And again, want to thank y'all for joining us as we close to the main card, as we get closer and closer. Really appreciate Nate Brown being super accurate, giving some good points too, man. I see why you would say that, and I really hope the same, bro. Like I know we're coming up on the Brito and William Gomi fight in a few, and I think that might be a couple fights from now or whatever.
That's the feature bout, I'm pretty sure.
The feature bout, bet. So like, yeah, and I'm definitely excited to break down that one, and Lane's given their 2 cents as well. Nah, like, I really don't like either. Really decent odds. Nah, yeah, you're right. I mean, hey, man, like anyone can win anything. If you want to put some money on Morales, you could come away with a big parlay if you want to sprinkle a little bit of money on him. We'll see what happens though if he can get it done. Like for real. But moving on to the next one though, for sure.
I think if you're gonna, oh wait, hold on, it's clean. Oh, okay. I was gonna say if you're gonna put money on an underdog, it's gonna be this fight, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Coming up after this one, but we got this fight first. I thought I mixed up the order a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, you're good. Hey, yeah, man. Like yo, even for this fight, man. Like yo, I was gonna go with Ludwig Klein in this matchup. I do like Roosevelt Roberts' intangibles, like his reach. Yeah, he has good boxing, great power in his hands if he can land the shots. We saw him knock out Nate Jimmerman on the Ultimate Fight. He knocked him out, and like it was like 9 seconds. It was pretty crazy. It was like the first few punches he landed to his face, it was over. And
That's real quick. That's exactly what's gonna happen. I hope everyone knows that he's not standing in the pocket with Brito at all. That's gonna happen the whole fight. That's gonna be 15 minutes of exactly that. Running in, short hook, running again. That's gonna happen the whole fight.
I think so too, honestly. I mean, hey, like, yo, these guys are gonna play no games, man. When your friends and family are in the crowd, are you gonna risk getting KO'd, flushed? Like, it's just not. I just don't think it's worth the risk. Like, I get it though, for us at home, like it might not be the most fun. But even then, with this one, I was going to keep this somewhat short because, I mean, Roosevelt Roberts is taking this on short notice. He could come out here to Paris and shock the world by finishing Ludwig Klein. That'd be a massive upset for him. I just think Klein's on an absolute tear right now. He's good in the striking and the grappling, and he's faced taller opponents before. He has a win over Ignacio Bahamondes. And Ignacio is like 6'3", I think. He's like
Ignacio 6'3", yeah.
He's like 6'3", yeah, and he had a reach disadvantage in that fight, and he he beat him, just really like had a really good game plan in that fight with the striking and the grappling, and he's shown he can beat taller opponents, so the height stuff doesn't affect Ludovic Klein whatsoever, and and yeah, like I was gonna go with Ludovic Klein. Shout out to Roosevelt Roberts, though. I really do respect his story, especially after watching him on The Ultimate Fighter, after getting cut the first time around and coming back and being on The Ultimate Fighter. It's cool to see him get a new contract. He probably just didn't get signed for a one and done. They probably gave him a whole new contract, and they're gonna give him hopefully a layup after this fight. So I really hope that for him 100%. But I think going into this fight, purely objectively, I think Klein's going to get it done. And I think it's going to be a first-round submission for Ludovic Klein.
Damn. Okay. I have Klein winning this one by a decision. Roosevelt's good. He has good range. Even though their reach is close, Roosevelt has good range. He uses it well. He could stand up well. Yeah, I think this could be a good fight early on, but I think as soon as the second round hits, they'll just separate. Odds will start to make a little more sense. Yeah, like I said, like you said too, and I think we said at the start of the episode, if he beat Ignacio, who is like really good, one of those really good tall fighters, this just gives you all the confidence to say he's going to run through this fight too. And listen, Tapology, everyone's agreeing too. This isn't just us. This isn't just
some people rolling the dice.
Vegas. Some people, there's always going to be
rolling the dice. Best believe it.
There's always going to be a few. I mean, like it's anything could happen, but it doesn't mean it will happen. And he's on a good win streak. I mean, his last loss was how long ago? 2021.
Yeah, it was like Nate Landwehr.
He's doing his thing. He had this decision against Jai Herbert, a good fighter. Mm-hmm. Ignacio, a good fighter. Thiago Moises, good fighters. Finished with a front body kick. I mean, he's doing this thing.
And that's why I said even before we started, this is one of like the biggest things of the card for me. He rarely has to get a ranked opponent going into he has to he's getting up there in age, and I think he's in his prime right now. I think like if he got thrown into like that top 7 right now, I think he could like really fight those guys. Like if I fight if he could get Gamrot after this, I think he should fight Gamrot. I think that'd be a great fight.
That'd be interesting. Because Gamrot was just on the verge of a title shot not too long ago.
Title shot, absolutely 1,000% he was. And it's pretty crazy because that was
maybe Klein versus like Jalen Turner would be interesting.
You could say that too. That'd be a good one.
Test him against these tall strikers if he could.
Oh, dude, yeah, that's crazy. He's
the tallest.
5'7", looking up at these guys and just like, yeah, for real. Like it doesn't mean anything in a fight, and like that's the beautiful thing about grappling too, because grappling nullifies height advantages and stuff. So now it's a measure of strength, not height. You feel me? And yeah, moving on up the card. I want to give a shout out to Roosevelt Roberts again, though. Like I said, I'm really, really high on this next guy, Umar Sy versus Dawoon Jung. It's pretty crazy. I think it used to be Dawoon Jung, but he changed his name to Dawoon Jung. So it's that's interesting. He's on a 3-fight losing streak. He used to be a really big prospect inside the UFC, like really one of those dudes that everyone thought was gonna take over like that. Especially hailing from South Korea, everyone's really been waiting for like another Korean prospect to really represent that side of the world inside the Ultimate Fighting Championship. But of course, anything can happen. He's still young. He's coming in on a 3-fight losing streak. But make of the competition what you will. Excuse me. He lost to Carlos Ulberg. He got choked out by the kickboxer, which probably really isn't and I get it. Ulberg's probably really working on that shit every day. You feel me? But at the same time, it's that's pretty crazy to get because he probably came in as a pure MMA fighter. Meanwhile, Ulberg has years of just kickboxing, and he catches up to you just that quick and chokes you out in a fight. And it's just for me, Even like yo, he lost to Devin Clark, which definitely think is not a good look, and he got knocked out by Dustin Jacoby. So like for me, it's just really like, damn, man, like I think it's pretty obvious what the UFC is trying to do here. I think they're trying to get Umar C a win. I think they're really high on him. For those that are picking Da Un Jung, of course, I'll give my respect to him right quick. He has 11 wins via KO, only been knocked out one time, and that was the Jacoby fight. He has 2 wins via submission and 2 wins via decision. So he definitely is a knockout artist, you could definitely say. It's really unfortunate, really. He's lost the last 3 fights, but we'll see what happens in this one, of course. And his opponent, as I said, it's pretty obvious what they're trying to do here. You feel me? At least from the optics, the outside looking in. I mean, yeah, this guy Umar C is 28 years old. He's 6'4", with an 83-inch reach. The last person to have an 83-inch reach. I mean, of course, like Robelis de Spain has an 87-inch reach, right? But at the same time, like, you know, it's more so about like how like it's the body composition. Like this guy is 6'4" with an 83-inch reach. So even like for light heavyweight, that's pretty insane. You know, John Jones has the longest light heavyweight reach of all time at 84.5 inches. You feel me? 84.5. Like that's just absolutely insane. You feel me? It's like when Israel had an 80-inch reach on all the middleweights until Alex Pereira showed up and this and that. And even then, they still went to war and stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. But I'm just saying, like, this guy is kind of like a specimen, you could low-key say, with how like his reach and like his build. And he's coming in really like, you know, with a killer instinct. You feel me? He has 4 wins by KO, 4 wins via submission. He's murdering these dudes. Say what you want about the competition, of course. When he fought Tuco Tacos, he finished him in the first round. Even when he fought Lidomar Alcantara, he finished him in the first round as well. A bunch of these dudes aren't making it out the first. One of them did go to a decision recently. The Bartolomej, I can't pronounce his last name, but yeah, either way, like Umar's look great. You feel me? And I do think this dude has a killer instinct inside of him, just with the fighting and stuff like that. So I do think he's going to come forward, be extremely aggressive, trying to get the victory in his home country. And obviously, yeah, they're trying to give him a layup. You feel me? So not to be disrespectful or anything like that, but you have an undefeated fighter fighting a guy on a 3-fight losing streak. You feel me? So I mean, it is what it is. You know. Shout out to Da Un Jung. I respect any professional athlete, regardless of whatever sport they participate in. But I think Umar C is going to get the victory here. If I had to give away a victory, I'll go by 2nd round TKO for Umar C.
All right, yeah. I think the line it is wide for someone with a lot of questions still. I mean, we really haven't seen much from him. There isn't much tape to watch. Dawoon, I mean, he has those 3 losses. It's middle of the pack competition. You know, those are people you could put a ranking next to their name in like a not so deep division.
Mm-hmm.
He has good Dawoon. He has good striking, decent wrestling. He just gets hit a lot. So if Umar, if his striking and he knows how to use his reach really well, which I mean, 10-0, he must. He should get the finish or win by a decision. I would say if you're gonna throw money on an underdog, wouldn't hurt to throw some money on this one. I just feel like there's questions. You're facing someone who has faced competition. Is he gonna go on a 4-fight losing streak? He might. But has he learned from those 3 fights? He definitely has,
Mm-hmm.
His last fight was at last year's Australia card, no? So that's over a year to train. I mean, that was when is that was it Ulberg who did the celebration, or was that Tyson Pedro who did the celebration?
That was Tyson Pedro when he knocked out
Yeah.
Anton Turkali. Yeah, with the
Okay,
sword.
but it was the same night, so that was over a year ago. He's
Yeah,
had time off to, train.
yeah.
He's only 30 years old still. They're at the same height. There's just that little bit of a reach advantage. Can he wrestle? Can Umar wrestle? That's the thing. Maybe Maybe Jung could test his wrestling and win the fight that way. I'm gonna take Sai in this fight. Um, I'll take him. I wrote by submission, but we'll see. We'll see. There's still a lot of answers. I think he needs to build himself a UFC resume so we could really see where he's at in comparison to the rest. But these dudes with these undefeated records, they keep winning. The lines are just gonna stay wide, until they lose that O. So unless he gets some big step up or something, the lines are gonna continue to be very wide, and they could be humbled at any moment. You never know. It's fighting, facing someone who's been doing it longer than you, in the top, like the top division in the promotion in the world. So you never know. But I got Sai winning this one by submission.
We're gonna see, man. Like, I missed his debut. I was really upset about that. I was walking home from work and I took out my phone. I finally got to put the card on. I think he fought like in the main card opener of the last card that he fought on. And I completely missed it, man. So it really pissed me off. I really want to see what this guy can do. This next fight, I'm not gonna lie, man, it's kind of messing with me. I'm not really feeling the best about this next fight, to be quite honest with anyone who's trying to take picks from us. Of course, we always like talking about MMA in general, but you can't have a podcast without doing some picks. You feel me? So there comes a point where we're gonna talk about fights like this, and I mean, you gotta just see what happens. You feel me? So with this fight, I mean, man, like, we get to start out with Cutelaba, man. So, like, what do we know about Cutelaba? He's been there for a pretty long time at this point. He hasn't bathed himself in green in a long time, because he's the Hulk and stuff like that. Usually, he'll paint himself fully green for the weigh-ins, especially pay-per-views and stuff like that when it's a big crowd and stuff like that. But again, man, like for his UFC record, he is 6-9. He lost to Felipe Lins in his last fight. Before that, he did knock out Tanner Boser, but Tanner Boser is no longer on the UFC roster. Before that, he got knocked out. He got finished by Kennedy Nzechukwu, finished by Johnny Walker, and finished by Ryan Spann. Before that, he did beat Devin Clark. And before that, it was like a split draw with Dustin Jacoby, and then he got knocked out by Magomed Ankalaev after that whole controversy they had 4 years ago. Looking back on that, and yeah, like for me, I mean, he does have some moments of greatness inside the UFC. You feel me? Like when he knocked out current title challenger Khalil Roundtree. Finished him in the first round. That was 5 years ago. So, and that was the fight that triggered Khalil to go learn, like to go off and train Muay Thai out in Thailand because he got hit with elbows in the clinch, and that made him want to improve. And now, like, you see Khalil's fighting for the belt, so we got Cutelaba to thank for that, But yeah, I mean, in terms of his career, it's always been an IQ issue with Iwan. It's really like many times, like even with the Ryan Spann fight, like he really put himself into the guillotine and stuff like that. He hurt Ryan Spann at one point. He was taking him down, getting really good takedowns to see if he was getting too overzealous, and he got himself submitted. He's always had good KO power. He can be finished. Whether it's by getting knocked out or choked out. It's really about whatever approach he decides to take. Obviously, in the UFC, keep him on the roster. First off, I do think they gave him like a 6-fight deal that wasn't too expensive for him to have this many fights and stuff like that. 1000%. But they do know that he is a fun fighter, especially like that's why damn near every fight, if you go down his thing, every single place he fights at, there's always a crowd because he is a fun fighter. It's just for me, it's just bothersome going into this fight. I do not have money on this matchup, but of course, I never like to make wrong picks. And again, before I go to his opponent, like I said, he can wrestle and he does have good knockout power, 100%, but his chin is suspect. And the worst part about his game is the IQ. And going into Ivan Ursulan, his opponent. So this guy's making his debut. Apparently, I'm trying to see. It says he's number one. He's ranked number one. I think he's the number one ranked.
Croatia.
Yeah, coming out of Croatia. Okay, so I mean, hey, like he's representing an entire region. You feel me? So obviously, this guy must be pretty good, being like the best light heavyweight to come out of Croatia. And this is Tapology that's ranking him that way. So this dude must obviously, he's probably pretty good. You feel me? If you feel me, being like the number one light heavyweight coming out of Croatia. But I mean, yeah, this guy has 10 wins via KO, 1 win via submission, and 3 wins via decision. The main suspect thing about him is that he was knocked out 2 fights ago. But before that, but after that, he did knock out a 10-1 guy in 54 seconds. So I mean, obviously either of these guys can be finished. You feel me? And I do think that this matchup is pretty interesting to say the least. Like, you know, and again, in terms of his career, he's primarily a striker. He only has 1 win via submission. And he's only been finished 1 time, and that KO literally just happened last year in October. So and he took a while off after that. We fought. It happened in October. He didn't fight again until February, so he took a lot of time off. So he probably knew it was a really bad sign that he got knocked out for the first time in his career. But I mean, man, like again, it's really a matter of the competition at this point. So that's going to be the deal breaker for me. This guy's fought a 17-10 guy, beat 18-17, 9-4, 14-11, but he got choked out by a 17-3 guy. And again, like, you know, he got knocked out by a 16-5 guy. So I do think it's a matter of the competition when it comes to this fight. I mean, damn, bro, this fight's really annoying. I'm not gonna lie to you. Because I don't want to get it wrong, bro. I don't want to get it wrong, bro. Oh my God, bro.
I feel like it's an easy decision to make. Like, we don't know much about Ivan, and he's fighting someone like Cutabello
who's fought better dudes, and I get it. Like,
all his fights are ending early, whether he wins or loses. But like,
bro, like
this is like compared to what he's fought, this is down here. You know, it's lower. It's like clear lower level. I mean, they're not. It's not like the UFC is like doing it in case you didn't know on this Ivan dude. For a reason. If they were, then I would be like, okay, but they're not. It's not going to be like that. Dana White puts a phone to his face and starts talking about him before the fight. It just, I mean, Cutabella, he does lose a lot, right? But he's dangerous in the first round. He loses a lot because he puts himself in a position to lose. But it's against good dudes, you know, like they all these dudes at light heavyweight have knockout power. I mean, there's no way you're going to be fighting at light heavyweight without knockout power.
Right.
Same thing with a heavyweight. I have Cutabella winning this one. I think he could just take him down and just ground and pound him in this one. I think that's how it's going to work. Pretty sure if I remember correctly watching Ivan, he just stands there with his hands in front of his face. He's going to be open. You know, Cutabella fights at Extreme Couture, so I mean, these dudes are well-rounded fighters. They like to stand up and box, but I mean, they definitely know how to defensively wrestle and they know how to offensively wrestle. So he could take him down and just start getting on top of him and just start laying it on him, and he could end the fight. I have this one, Cutabella winning TKO, first round ground and pound.
I had him written down on mine too. It's just, yeah, bro. I hope he wins, bro. I do, bro. And again, I'm not putting money on this, so I can't feel whatever. I just really, it's crazy, man. Because like, I picked him to win so many times, bro. Like even with the Felipe Orleans, like, nah, it's all good, bro. Like, you know, it's just one fight. It's one grain of sand on a beach. You feel me? So I'm gonna go with Iwan Cutelaba. I had him written down right here on the phone. And I'm going to go Cutelaba first round ground and pound victory. It's not going to make it out the first round. If it does, Cutelaba is obviously going to struggle, most definitely. And he could come out here with a good game plan. Like I said, he was good at, like, he got Ryan Spann to the ground. And Ryan Spann is massive. He's huge. And he was getting him to the ground, like, fairly easily. So that shows his raw strength. So I'm gonna go with Kutelaba. But we'll see what happens. Obviously. And yeah, y'all, as we move up the card, again, this next one, we're officially on the main card. Want to shout all of you out for joining us for this main card for this entire breakdown. Won't take us too long to do these main card fights, but definitely got some exciting fights we're going to talk about. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Always, most definitely. And yeah, man. So for this main card opener, I was gonna go with Frivola to get the W. I think Matt Frivola. I think when it comes to this fight, it might be kind of even on the feet, but I think that Matt's wrestling is going to be the difference maker. I think he's a really good wrestler. He's dealt with taller opponents before, like when he beat Jalen Turner a few years ago, and he was just wrestling him the whole time, getting him to the ground. Before losing to Benoit Saint-Denis, who was literally in the main event. And when he lost that fight, it was just a matter of a mistake. Like he backed out with his hands down, and it was over. He could have lost that via decision. It only looked so bad because he just made a little mistake, and it was a big price he had to pay. And like that was it. You feel me? But with Faris Siam, we saw what happened in the Terrence McKinney fight, just how rapid the takedown came and the submission came. He made Terrence look like he was Khabib or something like that. Terrence is a really good wrestler. For those that do know his story, he is a really, really, really good wrestler. Like no exaggeration. It was just how quick he got submitted. I think that's going to be a pretty hard hole to try to close up, even in the time that he's had. And yeah, like I think he got cut at one point, but they brought him back for a Paris card, and he won. And he's looked good his last few fights out. Beat Michael Figlak, Jai Herbert, and Claudio Puelles. But Claudio Puelles isn't really like the best competition, in my opinion. And he only beat him by a split decision. So the Jai Herbert win is definitely really good for sure. Especially seeing how Jai Herbert looked in his last fight. And when he beat Rolando Bendoya, I still think Jai Herbert has some gas tank left, even at 36 years old. And like I said, that's definitely his best win, in my opinion. But yeah, I was gonna go with Matt Frivola. I think he can get the fight to the ground. Before he lost his last fight, he knocked out Drew Dober. He was looking really, really good, man. Like the first guy to ever knock out Dober, the first guy to ever knock out Ahmed Azaitar, and he knocked out Jannar. He was been taking O's. He was taking O's, and taking chins. So I do think Frivola is still really good. Also, congratulations to Matt Frivola, who just became a father. So obviously that's going to give him a burning fire to come home and to come and get that W, to feed the family, of course. And yeah, I got Matt Frivola, most definitely.
I'm also rocking with the steamroller in this one. First and foremost, he does the best picture on Tapology.
Everyone always says
that. But yeah, I got him in this one. He's like a kind of like a Kudabella, like we just did. Like it's like knockout or get knocked out with him. He's gonna bring in the fight. It's gonna be very fast paced with him in the cage. ZM is a good striker, technical, has good grappling, but it's just all gonna get negated by what Matt brings. He's very aggressive, has great wrestling. And like he's good against those taller strikers. I mean, he's done it plenty of times. His loss against Benoit, it was a flash knockout. He was just going right into the lead leg, got that kick to the head. It's unfortunate, but I think he's just overall the better fighter. If I recall, he was ranked before this too. He was in the top 15.
Mm-hmm.
I think this one's like a club and sub. I think he knocks him down. ZM turtles up and he could just lock in a choke maybe or something. Maybe he gets on the back or something. I have a club and sub in this one for Vola to win it for sure. I have no doubt he wins. If I had a lock on this card, I would say it's for Vola.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he can get it done too. Also, for a quick side note for the viewers, well, for the people in the chat, of course.
Hell yeah!
Most definitely. Most definitely. Yeah.
5 rounds too is very big.
I agree. Like, do you think would you consider a title eliminator seeing what happened?
Yeah.
You think so? I think for Figueiredo, for fuck sure, it's most definitely a title eliminator. If he beats Jan, he for 1,000% is gonna fight for the belt after Umar Nurmagomedov. Of course, I do think that Umar is most definitely locked in for a title shot because they really want to have that Dagestani be the champion. I know that they like Marab, but Umar, like that, it's a Nurmagomedov in a real one, cut from that cloth, undefeated, 18-0, looks just like his cousin with the hair and everything, and I'm really excited for that. That's all I'm gonna say. Like I've been saying that the past like 4 years, even when he signed, even when he first came over, and I just kept saying like I really do feel that it's gonna be like if Umar does become the champion, it'll be like his cousin, but just at a smaller division. And he has a super stacked division too, so he would have a lot of crazy title defenses on the horizon. And he already beat Corey Sandhagen, so there's no need to even try to he can't even defend against him because he already beat him. So
They don't call him Young Eagle for no reason. I mean, that's a big nickname to live up to. So
I'm just really excited. So I just really want to see because he's not, because it was really unfortunate with Khabib's dad died. So it like Umar's still only 28. So if he gets that belt, he's not going to retire for a long time, man. And like he would have the potential, not just going that far fetched, but he would have the potential to go on and be the greatest bantamweight.
Well, he said his goal is to be 29-0. Like that's his goal. He was on a podcast with I don't think it was Tim Watt. I don't want to. No, it was Aljo. No. It was Kamaru and Henry, and he said his goal was to be 29-0, defend the belt, and then retire 29-0. He said possibly 30-0, but he said everyone. Khabib's dad always wanted everyone to retire by 32 because he said that's when he felt like you were leaving your prime. So he said he wanted to accomplish that by 32. If he's fighting, 2-3 times a year, he'd be on track to get that.
And smoking dudes. I just want to see him because I know, like, right, because either way, Aljamain Sterling is a future Hall of Famer. You feel me? So I really want to see like Umar go on and get like 5 titles, like really run that division, really have like some crazy, like some wars, bro. But of course, moving on though. But yeah, we are really excited about that, and we will do a breakdown for the UFC Matt Cal card. Have to, because that card has fans. And it's a pretty crazy card, to be real. And I really wonder what time that card's going to be on, because that's going to be pretty crazy. But yeah, going into this next one, and be kind of quick with this one too. I was going to go with Morgan Charrier to win this fight over Gabriel Miranda. Of course, Morgan Charrier, the last pirate, he was in Cage Warriors for a very long time, but of course, he always had ties to Paris. He was really young over there and like just really had ups and downs, but it was better that way, so he could really be like the full version of himself when he arrived in the UFC. I know, like I'll see his records 19-10, 9 losses are by decision, so he. Like it's pretty crazy. Like you could be like 28-1, something like that, if there's different judges there. So it's pretty unfortunate, that how he came over having taken some of those losses, but at least it really contributed to his experience and really making him a better fighter. And now he really knows his style, his identity in the cage. And he's a really well-rounded fighter to be such a great striker. I do think in this fight, he's just going to do a sprawl and brawl, keep the fight on the feet, do not engage with Gabriel Miranda at all, as he is a really, really good grappler. He has like out of 17 wins, like 15 are by submission. So it's pretty crazy. We saw him just choke out Shane Young in the first round like that. It was like 59 seconds. It was pretty crazy. So he is really adept on the ground. So I think Morgan's going to keep it really safe, really point fight, and just really pick him apart and try to put on a fancy show for the fans. A lot of spinning back kicks, elbows, jumping knees, and stuff like that. And I do think he's going to keep it at a distance and win the fight off points via decision.
I agree with you. I think this one's easier fight to pick. I'm taking Morgan in this one. I didn't put a method because I'm torn between a knockout or a decision. I think if there is a finish in this fight, Morgan's going to win by knockout. I feel like Gabriel's only way to win would be a submission in this one, and I don't see him getting the submission in this fight. So I'm taking Morgan to win by either a knockout or a decision. I just couldn't put my finger in it, and I wasn't going to get torn up between the two.
Yeah.
I obviously have him winning the fight. And the line is spread, like I said, but fairly so.
I think he's a good fighter. I really think that, like, even with all those losses, like, it's really gonna like turn a corner as he enters his 30s inside the UFC. I still think he can go on a run. Robbie Lawler was the champion. He was the final boss with a record of 29-11. Same with Charles Oliveira. You know, he was like 29-8 as the champion of the division. So he could just turn a corner at a later age, and we'll see what happens with Morgan Chittier. You know, I was always high on him coming out of Cage Warriors. I'm just really happy that like he's hit a new level really since coming over to the UFC. And that last fight could have gone his way, so he still could be undefeated inside the UFC. It was a split decision when he lost, so he still could be undefeated inside the UFC. You know, and I like to go off the UFC record when a fighter makes the jump to the big promotion now because they're fighting the best competition now. So I don't really count of course you can, like, if you're fighting them like in that perspective and they have regional scene losses, you can go back and look at those losses to try to find weaknesses. But when you hit the UFC, most fighters hit a new level. So especially if they come in, you know, it's like Kyle Mahayo, how he's like 8-0 inside the UFC right now, but he has one loss, you know, technically. But he looks damn near, he's look nothing but great. And that's all people have seen because he's performed great inside the UFC. So, and I think that Morgan Chittier is going to do the same here. And yeah, I got him by decision. And going into this next one, got 4 fights left on the card. Y'all, want to appreciate y'all again for joining us. And yeah, for this one, it's going to be USA all day, baby. I was going to go with Brian Battle in this fight. I'm really, really high on Brian Battle. I think he's a really, really well-rounded fighter. You know, I really think that Renat Fakhretdinov loss really changed his mindset. He was already headstrong coming off the Ultimate Fighter, but I think just like losing that and like getting control of the way he did really made him aware of like, if I can grapple with these guys, if I can get back to my feet, these guys can't beat me. He's a really polished striker, really, really fast striker, really cerebral fighter. I really enjoy watching him fight. That's his only loss inside the UFC. And again, like it was by a decision. So it's not like he got like destroyed or anything like that. In the next fight, he knocked out Gabe Green 14 seconds in his home state.
The cage counter knockout was crazy.
That was pretty wild.
I wasn't even like ready for that. Like I remember I sat down, they got active, so I was like, all right, let me sit up, went to take some water or something, and I like looked at my other monitor and I looked back and he's just celebrating. I'm like, what the fuck just happened, dude? I like completely missed that knockout.
And I don't know what happened. I mean, Gabe Green, he's still on the roster. He was supposed to fight James Alon-Top back in April. Back in April. So he's still on the roster. Probably taking some time off after the KO. So we'll see what happens, you know. But of course, you know, after that, we know he submitted AJ Fletcher, who's a really good wrestler. AJ Fletcher is really strong grappler. So to submit him the way he did was really impressive. And obviously, we all know what happened in the Angelusa fight, the infamous Angelusa fight. He was picking him apart. Angelusa, who's also a really good grappler himself, he was destroying him. I'm not even trying to be mean. He was beating his ass like straight up. Like there was nothing Angelusa could really do, and he was faster. He was like in the clinch, he was looking good. Like any takedowns that came, he sprawled it. He was looking good just anywhere the fight went. And there was nothing he could do with him. And, I don't want to say he took the easy way out, but like to say he couldn't see out of his eye. And then the moment the fight ended and they both looked
left. Fighting now.
And
then he wanted to start fighting once that was over.
For real, yeah, literally, bro. And like, it was just for me, like, because I would have done the same thing Brian did. When they both looked at each other like that, I'm pretty sure that just went in slow motion for Brian Battle. And when he saw him making eye contact, like he's looking, and he was like, "Oh, you're a pussy, Brian." It was because he took his win money, bro. He took his win money. You get 2 paychecks, you feel me? And he knew he took the easy way out. And now you want to try to fight, but you were just saying you can't see. Like, okay, whatever, bro. Whatever. Like, I low-key wanted them to rebook that, but I think they knew Battle was the better fighter, so they didn't. And yeah, and they gave him an all expenses paid trip to Paris. You feel me? So he's fighting Kevin Doucette, which of course, giving Kevin Doucette his respect. He's a great bars. He's a great striker. He does train with City Kickboxing. So that lets you know the camp he's coming from. Israel Adesanya, Alexander Volkanovski, all those dudes. He is a good striker, but in terms of his UFC competition, it has not been the best at all. Kiefer Crosby really only got signed because he's cool with Conor McGregor. And in Kanong Song, like a lot of people feel like he's a borderline UFC fighter, Kanong Song. So again, like in terms of his career, he has 4 wins via KO and 5 wins via decision. So you could definitely say he's more of a point fighter. And like for me, like Nate Brown's kind of singing the tune I'm thinking right now as well. Again, I was gonna go with Brian Battle in this matchup. I think it's gonna be USA. I think that like on the feet, I think they're like kinda fairly matched up. I do think that Brian Battle like might be a little faster, and I think that Brian Battle has the more power. You could say Giuseppe might have better distance management because who he trains with, but again, I think Brian Battle has good distance management too. And like I said, he's a really cerebral fighter, really smart, bro, when he's in there. And I do think he has really good power that makes these dudes want to wrestle. So for me, I do think that anywhere the fight goes, Brian Battle will be prepared. And I think what's going to win him this fight will be the power advantage. And I think he might be a little faster as well. It's going to be a pretty close fight, in my opinion, for anyone picking Kevin Doucette, but yeah, man, I got Brian Battle. I do think in my opinion, he's the better fighter. He has the reach advantage in this fight. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Nate Brown is on my side as well. He says he's gonna fade Kevin. And again, he looked good against Kiefer Crosby, but he isn't really the best level competition. And I think Brian Battles looked better during their timeout inside the UFC. Even with the loss to Renat Fakardinov, I think Brian Battles looked really good, especially in the Angelusa fight. He just looked super fast, super well-rounded. So I'm going to go with Brian Battle for sure.
So Kevin, he has a good jab. He could fight behind the jab. I think this fight's going to be similar to like a Sean Strickland, Dricus du Plessis a little bit. Obviously toned down. It's not 5 rounds. Neither of them are at the level of those two yet. But I think it's going to be the same style of fight. It's going to be Giuseppe fighting behind his jab, throwing his 1s and 2s, and then Battle's going to be trying to brawl, trying to get in there. And he's going to be landing some damaging strikes. And I think he has way higher output. So I think he's going to be winning on the scorecards just off of that. If there's a chance for a finish, I'm all on Brian Battle on this one. And it's not to say Giuseppe's bad. I think, I was looking around on the internet. A lot of people are high on him. Some people have him winning this fight. I personally don't. I think Battle's going to win this one. I think Battle by decision is fair to say. Yeah, it's just the damaging strikes that are going to happen, larger output, and that's it. He's very well-rounded. He could wrestle too. I like him. I like him a lot. He's a good fighter. I'm going to take him in this one to win by decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nah, man. Yo, it's going to be a pretty good fight striking-wise. This whole main card is really good. Like, the moment it hits 3 p.m., it's going to get, it's already going to be a good card, but the moment it hits 3 p.m., just sit back and relax because every single fight is going to be very good. Speaking of very good, moving on up the card to the feature bout. of the night. The fight before the two closing fights, the feature bout. Yeah, man. So this fight's really, 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 really good in my opinion. Honestly, I'll let you go first in this one, if you
Yeah.
would like to.
So we talked about it a little earlier, but Gomez is a good fighter. He's very well rounded, but he fights very safe. He's not going to do anything to lose the fight. Like he knows how to survive, and that's very important in winning rounds. So the way he fights, he's going to throw his little strike, and he's going to keep moving round and around the cage. This dude has like unlimited cardio. I mean, he could do this for all 15 minutes, and it's just like it's a matter. It's like mouse and cat, right? Or was it cat? Whatever, cat and dog, whatever they call it.
Yeah,
If
Mouse.
Brito catches him once, this fight could change everything. But is he gonna? Like we've seen Gomez, he could just keep going and going all around. He doesn't get hit much. I mean, I looked on the UFC stats. He gets hit less than twice per is it minute or whatever they go by, and then he has
Yes, really good
75%
defense.
defense, which is
Really
pretty
good.
high. A lot of these dudes have low defense on there because they get hit a lot. Brito's very good, but unless he could land something like super big, he's just not going to outpoint Gomez in this fight. I don't think. Um, I'm gonna take William by decision in this one.
Yeah, man. Damn, I think we've agreed on every fight so far. I was gonna go with William Go me as well. For me, it's just I really like what I've seen from him, man. Like his footwork, how he'll work the outside of the cage, just keep it, it's just really, really elusive footwork. But like when he rips those body kicks, they're super elite, super quick. He's a really good kickboxer. Even when it hits the ground, he's a pretty good grappler with his foot sweeps and stuff like that. He does have good sweeps to getting back to his feet. And just a really good kickboxer. I do think he is the better technical striker in this fight. I just think Brito has more power. If he lands one right hook in this fight, like one flush in the pocket, it could be over. But what I envision, I just see William making him miss, really tiring him out with those big shots. Brito getting frustrated that he can't win, land those big shots, forcing him, forcing Brito to try to close the distance with the grappling, and I think that Williams going to be made for anywhere the fight goes. It's really hard to beat somebody who has a reach advantage, but has good distance management too. He's also the taller fighter, so I don't think he'll be able. Like, of course, height doesn't mean anything with the grappling, but like I said, he has good foot sweeps, so I do think he'll be able to get the fight to the back up to the feet. If Brito does get a takedown, and it's a close fight, bro. You can look at Topology. I do think it is a close fight. Not many people are picking Gomi. Obviously, you see people picking Brito and stuff like that. He is like a plus. He is a minus 270, almost a minus 300 favorite. Like we say over here, betting odds mean nothing. And it's how I envision the fight. I don't think Gomi's going to get hit like that. I'm not sure if he's ever been knocked out. He's never been knocked out in his entire career. Of course, he's never fought the power puncher like Joe Anderson, Brito. But I do think that William Gomi is just it's his distance management and his elusivity. I think he'll be able to bob and weave with any big shot Brito throws at him, and I think he'll just point fight the whole way through. He's made for his style. He has a great gas tank, really, really good footwork. He does not get tired, and he's really fast in the cage. And he times the strikes well. It's not like a predictable in and out. Like dance body kick. It's nothing like that. He's really, really good with switching stances and just really like using his footwork to stay on the outside. So I was going to go with William Gomi in this fight as well. I know he's a big underdog, but I do think he can get the fight done just off his defense. And he's a good striker himself. I think he's a more multifaceted striker than Joe Anderson. Brito has a lot of danger, whether on the ground or in the pocket. Like I said, one flush like right hook, it's especially in the first round, that's gonna be like really scary, So he just has to be ready for that. And if Brito does win this, they gotta throw him in the deep end. Like no more playing around with this dude. Like, he's about to be 30 in his prime. He would be a great addition to like the top of the featherweight division. That top 6, top 7 area. Maybe he could fight like a Calvin Kattar, something like that if he gets a win here. But I was gonna go with William Gomi to get this done.
I agree with you.
And yeah, man, going into the
Big
co-main,
two main fights.
the co-main event, this is a really, really crazy fight. I really wish this was 5 rounds. It should have been 5 rounds. Like they really should have did like a double header.
Who do you think it favors in a 5-round fight? I would say it more leans to Brandon Allen. Yeah, a little bit of a slow starter.
Allen, I think for Allen it would have been really good for him. It's a close fight, man. It's a close fight, regardless of like whatever betting odds, regardless of whatever that Imavov's a -240 favorite. But you can say Allen's the more well-rounded fighter with his striking and his dangerous grappling submission game. Because I think Brendan Allen's a really, really good striker too. It's a close fight, man. The more I think about it, you feel me? Damn, bro. Like I'll just break this down. But yeah, starting out with Imavov, he's at home, so I got to give him his respect. The Russian sniper. Obviously, we saw what happened in the Jared Cannonier fight. He was looking good before the controversial stoppage, but of course, say what you will about that. Before that, he beat Roman Dolidze. He looked great in that fight. Really picked him apart. I forgot that was a main event. Really forgot that was a main event. Yeah. So we know that at least the last 2 fights, Imavov has really looked really good, man. I really like closing up the hole in his gas tank. Really being able to show his level. When he fought Cannonier, it really showed that he rose to the occasion, just like how Kyle Bahayo did. But it was really cool to see him like be number 8, fight that number 4 ranked fighter, and just go toe to toe like that, speed wise, power wise, and with his combinations. Yeah, man, it's a close fight. Like I said, he's probably one of the best he's one of the cleanest strikers inside of the middleweight division. Really, really, really polished striker. He's always talking about how he wants to be a perfectionist. He's a good fighter, man. Like he's getting better on the ground. I think he has decent takedown defense. We know with the Chris Curtis fight, the clash of heads, but he was beating Chris Curtis before that. And we know when he lost to Sean Strickland, like that he took that on short notice, and he still went 5 rounds. So I do think he has closed up his gas tank issue, which allows him to really fight at full speed, damn near all 3 rounds with his high level striking, his elbows, his jab, his 1-2, his right cross. He also has good knees as well. And I think he has good knees up the middle. And for Brendan Allen, really, really well-rounded fighter. Like I said, it's a close fight, man. Both these guys are the same age, same like damn near same height, same reach. Brendan Allen is on a really, really long win streak. Has a lot of momentum right now. So he's on like an 8-fight win streak right now. It's like the second. It's like this at the second longest inside the division. He beat Chris Curtis via split. So they got a common opponent. Before that, choked out Paul Craig. Before that, choked out Bruno Silva. Before that, choked out Andre Muniz. And before that, choked out Krzysztof Jotko. So he's on an absolute tear right now. Both guys look really good. Like I said, for Brendan Allen, he has a good body kick himself, decent leg kicks. He has been knocked out before, so you can say like a suspect chin maybe. And he can be pushed. But it's a 3-rounder, so it's not going to go to, they won't go 5 rounds, something like that. So I think both these guys are going to be really, really well-trained cardio-wise for this fight. It's a close one, man, because, it's a close one, man. I do agree with Nicky when he does say that Brendan Allen is a short, like he's kind of a slow starter compared to Imavov, who's going to come out with that crowd fresh out the gate, can be really aggressive. I guess it's really a matter of it's about the competition, you could say. I do think Imavov would beat all these dudes. He'd beat Paul Craig. I think he'd beat Bruno Silva. I think he'd beat Andre Muniz and Krzysztof Jotko. And I mean, man, it's not like out of any of those guys, I think the only ranked opponent was Chris Curtis for Brandon Allen. So It was just mid-tier level competition, but it's still a good winning streak at the end of the day. And Nasruddin Imavov, his last win is a better win than all those wins that Brendan Allen has. So it's a close fight, man. Like, again, I keep saying that, but it's the truth. Again, I always say betting odds mean nothing, but if I had to choose who I have to go with in this fight, man, I'm gonna go with Nasruddin Imavov in this matchup. I just really like, his pace, his striking, his speed in the striking. I think like he'll be able to walk down Brendan Allen really close the distance. If Brendan Allen can't get the fight to the ground, I do think that Imavov will be the better striker. It's a really close fight, bro. I've said it again. I'll continue to say it's a really close fight. Allen's on a really good win streak, but we saw how we saw the current state of Imavov's talent with how he was looking really good against Jared Cannonier. I still think Cannonier's a good fighter. You feel me? So. Yeah, man. Even then, before that, like Cannonier had set a record on Marvin Vittori's face for striking in the middleweight division, and then Imavov just really went in there. It didn't make it look easy, but he definitely had a really good performance against a really good fighter. So I guess I'm gonna go with like the polished striking and the speed of Nasruddin Imavov. If he gets taken down, obviously it's gonna be in a lot of trouble. But I just think he's a higher level than all those dudes that Brendan Allen fought. So I was going to go with Imavov in this matchup to win via decision. I don't think he'll finish. Brendan could. It'd be crazy. Sean Strickland did, but I think he's gonna win via decision. Stuff the takedowns, land the faster strikes, and we'll see what happens, man.
So yeah, Imavov, he is really good striking. He fights very long. In this fight, it's not going to be as easy to fight long. I mean, they're very similar in, body height, body length. A 3-round fight, like we said, it's going to favor him just off of points. I don't see Nasruddin knocking him out, in my opinion. And then, like we said, Allen's a slow starter. But he could pick up as early as the second round. Maybe he could come out. I think if he comes out in a full wrestling approach and he does what he needs to do correct, he could have 3 great rounds. Simple as that. If he gets too confident on the feet, and he just wants to stand there and box, there's no way he's going to win this fight against Imavov. He just has great kicks, great jab. He's just a good striker, and Allen's not going to win the fight on the feet. He needs to spend all 3 rounds wrestling just to come out of there with 2 rounds. Like, if that makes sense, you know what I mean? If he wants to win a decision, he has to spend all 3 rounds wrestling. He has to get chokes in, even if he's not finishing them. He just has to be very dominant on the ground, and he can't be getting his takedown stuffed. It's just not going to work for him. So if he wants this, he needs to wrestle early, and he has to find success. But saying that, I'm going to take Brendan Allen to win this one by a sub.
Why?
Just to, throw everyone off real quick. I don't think too many picks. I think people are riding Imavov in this fight a little hard. But, we'll see. I think it's a good fight. I think they're very
close
even
one, man. It's close, bro. Like I said it, like he's on an 8-fight win streak, bro. Like compared to Imavov, who beat the number 4 guy in his last, it's really just quality over quantity or whatever you want to, this is what it is, and it's good underdog money on Brendan Allen, so I could see why you would pick him for sure. And yeah, man, going to the finale of the event, I want to thank all of you again for joining us for this hour and 40-minute breakdown. Really love having all of y'all come through. Anakin, Lane, Nate, Craig, True, every single one of y'all. Even Peeping Tom MMA. I know we missed your comment. I'm so sorry about that. Thank you for sliding through, bro. Peeping Tom, it's pretty funny because Tom Aspinall. And again, thank you all for joining us. Really do appreciate y'all. Love doing these breakdowns. And yeah, we do this as we prepare for Ultimate Fighting Championship 307, where we're gonna break down another Alex Pereira card. That guy has been fighting every 2 months at this point. But yeah, man, going into the main event, you can start it off, bro. Go ahead. You can break down Moicano while I do Benoit.
So we got Money Moicano. He is one of the best personalities in the UFC. I don't think he's been around for a while. You know, he had his stunt at featherweight. Now he's at lightweight. Found way more success at lightweight. He was, you know, getting finished down here. Jose Aldo, Chan Sen Young. This Rafael Fiziev fight, he did get dominated in Rafael, but Rafael has like amazing Muay Thai. I mean, he's a really good fighter. It sucks he got injured against Gamrot. Um,
Mm-hmm.
not to get too distracted there. Um, lost to Rafael dos Anjos. Now that doesn't worry me as much. Let me say, because he's just like he he is what he is. You know, he's in lightweight, he's in welterweight, he's winning
He's
fights, he's
future
losing
Hall of
fights.
Famer, bro. Like, he's still a
Yeah,
good fighter, bro.
yeah, he's a solid fighter. He does what he does very well. He
Fighting
just
Jeff
keeps going
Neal
between his
now.
weight classes and holds his ranking, you know. So he's good. But then he has wins against Brad Riddell. He has a win against Drew Dober, Jalen Turner. You know, that was impressive. I thought Jalen was going to win that fight. He didn't
Almost
follow up.
did.
He
Almost
didn't
did.
follow up, and he took, you know, took his beating for it.
Ah,
And then yeah, this grappling just goes to show he's one of the better grapplers. Great submission artist. Um, it's going to be harder with someone like Benoit, who's very big, very strong. Um, in the last fight, you know, it was going around. Benoit did have staff, so that's not seem at 100%. And even then, he still looked pretty good against Dustin. Dustin was having trouble. Dustin was relying to guillotines every time he got. Benoit was going for a single or a double leg against the cage. It's kind of like a cheap way out going for those guillotines. And just to explain that, when you go for those guillotines, first of all, almost every UFC fighter knows how to stop a guillotine. And then every time Dustin did it, he ended up on the bottom. So it's just like a cheap out in a cage fight. So you got to give Benoit the credit. He's a great grappler. If he's going to come at 100%, there's a chance he could make this look very, very easy. But Renato is still a dangerous fighter. He has how many finishes? He got 11 finishes in his career, 8 decision wins, and he's only lost 5 times, 3 by knockout, 1 by submission, 1 by decision. So that's the breakdown for Renato. You could break down Benoit.
all right, man. So this is gonna be the last guy to make the walk. He's finally getting a night dedicated to himself. Even coming off a knockout loss, they're gonna put him in a big spot. To bring home the event for the entire country. It's the yearly UFC Paris. So I'm happy to see. You know, this is one time of many that he will main event here. So it's cool to see him get this opportunity really young. Um, like how he still is. Obviously, in terms of his skill set, he's a great striker, great grappler, really a marauder, so to speak, in the cage. He'll come forward, be extremely aggressive. Even with the Oleski Dos Santos fight, you know, he really showed his heart in that fight. You know, taking a lot of damage, like still coming forward, trying to get the fight to the ground. You know, he had his eye swollen shut, but he still tried to, you know, to take his hat off. You feel me? So I definitely think that showed his durability and his strength, especially when he doesn't have a staph infection. And yeah, man, even in the Dustin fight, he looked great in the first round when he did have a full gas tank, and he hadn't, you know, like blew his wad yet. Like, damn near got a 10-8 in the first round. Like, really held Dustin down up against the cage. Like, you know, almost choked him out multiple times. Like, he looked really, really good, you know. And again, in terms of his skill set, he's a good boxer, you know, definitely a decent boxer, you could say. Does have knockout power in the hands, really good instincts in the cage. Like it's like how I mentioned earlier when Matt Frivola had dropped his hands. He knew right then to send his leg up and get the head kick. That was a beautiful knockout, beautiful KO finish. And I just think he's really cerebral in the cage. I think he's going to have a whole different approach in this fight. I think he's going to see what Moicano wants to do first. Whether if it hits the ground, I don't think he's going to show any fear to Moicano to go attack a submission. Especially, you know, if they start rolling around and stuff like that. I do think it's going to be a pretty exciting fight. I will say I do think that he might have the better gas tank than Moicano, because we've seen Moicano slow down. We've also seen him get chin. Jalen Turner almost did KO him I forgot if that was the first round or not, but it almost happened pretty early in the fight. If he would have followed up, he literally could have finished Moicano pretty early in the fight. So we do know he can be hurt. And yeah, in terms of the skill sets, I think Moicano might be not Moicano. I think Benoit might be the better striker in this fight. In terms of the better pure grappling, you have to give it to Moicano. But I do think that Benoit can survive on the ground with him. If he does drop him, I think he can get a club and sub, get a guillotine, something like that. I think he's really physically strong. They're both. It's definitely gonna be a measure of strength once they hit the ground. I just think Benoit has to stay focused in this matchup and not let the home crowd energy really get to him because they're gonna be going crazy during that main event. So especially knowing how aggressive he is, as long as he just plays it safe, not safe, but it's calculated and cerebral. I think he can have a good performance. Same with Moicano. I think this will be a pretty eventful fight for the fans. Whether it's on the feet or on the ground. But yeah, you get the first breakdown, so you can take the first pick.
This one, it all depends how the fight goes. So, I think, just off of the top of your head, you would think Benoit would be very dominant in this fight. It all depends how Moicano deals with it. So does he stuff the takedowns? Does he get up very easily? Now, if Benoit's just gonna get on top of him and mount him, there's no path of victory for Renato. But if Benoit takes him down and he could pull guard, I think Renato could definitely. I think Benoit's going to be trying to strike to knock him out. He just likes to apply a lot of pressure. It's not the smartest ground and pound. I think he could throw a triangle, get an arm bar or something. I think there's a path to a victory with the sub there. On the feet, I think Benoit's just stronger. He has more range. They're same height. I think on paper, Benoit should take this. I'm gonna take Renato to win this one by a sub. Just have some fun with it. Doesn't hurt. I'm not betting on it. So just throwing out my pick. I'm gonna take Renato Moicano by sub. Maybe we get a great post-fight interview. And yeah,
as the blues rain down for damn, man. Now I feel like you would pick him too, man. He weathered the storm in his last one, got a good victory, choked out a ranked opponent. And he had a main event off that, you feel me? So it's a close one, man, most definitely. I was gonna go with Benoit Saint-Denis in this fight. I just think you could say he's the better, well-rounded fighter. I think on the feet he will be better in the exchanges, have better boxing. Land the better shots. I do think Moicano's going to try to get the fight to the ground somewhat early, really mix it up rather early, not just sit out there in the first round and go box and go back and forth. I do think that he's going to try to get the fight to the ground, at least try to, get those arms full of blood, try to make him tired and just try to get him to the ground and try to work a game plan, and maybe chase a submission if it gets there. I just think that Benoit's going to really want to get a bounce back victory after the Dustin knockout, especially after getting knocked out like that. And he's at home. I think he put a lot of effort into this training camp. And again, he's fully healthy in this time around. And he's a strong grappler too. I think he's a really strong grappler too. He knows what he has to do to get a victory against a high level BJJ artist. So, and I do think he will play it safe. If he does club him, I don't think he's going to put himself, hopefully, in the madness, won't put himself, into a guillotine or, anything like that. I think he's going to want to come out here and have a really cerebral performance so he can get another chance at the top of the division. Because he's still young, and I do think he will be a top player when he does get up there. I think he'll be up there for a while. So, yeah, man, I was going to go with Benoit Saint-Denis in this fight. It's going to be a crazy fight, though. I do think it can go either way. I'm just going to trust Benoit's game plan, his training. He's at home. I think he's the better striker, but he can grapple, too. But Moicano is definitely the better grappler if it's going to go there. And that would be his main choice of victory. Like Nikki said, he could get an arm bar off his back. He's liable for a submission anywhere, on the feet, up against the cage, on off his back, on top, anywhere the fight goes, he can get a submission 1000%. and we'll see how it goes. You feel me? Good card though. I am excited to see how it goes. We got a full afternoon of fights, so I'm definitely intrigued to see how this one goes. Most definitely. Um, but again, I want to thank all y'all for joining me and my boy today. How you feel about the card, Nikki? On any closing remarks or anything like that?
I'm definitely excited for a few of the main card fights. Not too sure what time it starts, but I'm gonna be off Saturday, so
3.
I'll be watching. So 3 o'clock it starts. That's nice. Starts a little earlier in the day. Get to
But that's the main card though. Like the
the main
prelims
card.
start
So yeah, we're gonna be starting like 11 then, no?
noon. It starts at 12 noon.
Okay, that's dope. So yeah, then we'll get to have the night to do whatever we want. So that'll be
A
chill. Yeah, I'm
daytime.
looking forward to it. I think it's like a 7.5 out of 10. It's fair.
Yeah, for sure. Like pre-card, like for the fights, like on paper, I'll definitely give it a 7.5 to an 8. I think it's a really good card. Even for not there's no belt or nothing like that, of course, but it has a really, really good main card. And it's cool to get because next week after this we're moving on to UFC 307. So it's cool to get 2 cards back to back that have fans. So I'm really excited for that. It's always good having the events that have fans. Really puts an excitement for the event. Even when I'm watching it at home, I really enjoy that most definitely. But want to thank y'all again for joining us today. Had a great breakdown. Almost 2 hours we went. I saw that the sun just went down behind me, so we're about to go get some dinner and chill out on the game after this. But y'all already know. Feel free to hit us up on Twitter and the
Join the
comments.
Discord. It's in the comments. No one has joined yet besides like 2 people that we've done videos with. So make sure you guys join the Discord. Maybe we could chat up in there.
For sure, absolutely, yeah, and I'm gonna start promoting that even more myself. And please do join us. We can have some good conversations. Never nothing disrespectful. We're always chill, talking about some fights in life too. If you guys ever want to talk about life, it's different. There's way more deeper things than like mixed martial arts and stuff like that. We could always talk about life and like in between cards and stuff like that. If I ever want to just chop it up about some personal stuff and it's a judgment-free zone. We're chill dudes around here, and never no negativity, always positivity. And y'all have a nice night. Thank y'all again for joining us. And enjoy the fights on Saturday. Remember, they start in the afternoon, not at night. So you better have some breakfast before the card starts. So God bless y'all and good night.
Peace.